Good morning. We are on the ground in Palm Beach one more time.
Let's go.
Built the show with the sunrise this morning. Talking about EV updates, a major population growth, and facial recognition in retail. Remember when facial recognition was just for like spy movies?
Yeah.
What was that movie? It had like
and every time for some reason it
Came
needed
from a
like some
satellite.
green thing going over your face, right?
little scan going on. What was the one movie called? It was Will Smith and Gene Hackman, Enemy of the State.
Yeah, I remember that
was
one.
a classic.
That's good.
Remember Gene Hackman?
Gene Hackman.
That man could
guy.
make a movie hot.
Could make a movie hot. All right, we got to get into it. We got a lot to talk about today. We are in Palm Beach. We've had a ton of fun at Modern Retail Conference. The conversations have been extremely dialed in. I can't remember a conference that has been so like wide in breadth of the type of conversation that's happening from agency model to digital technologies to creative, and then there's an HR track, and there's all these different conversations happening. And I think that it's created an energy where people are like, well, there's a lot going on.
There's more to do.
Yeah.
I mean, traditionally, this has been a very heavy marketing and analytics conference, right? They rebranded, renamed it. I think they delivered.
Yeah.
Right. Bringing in HR and creative. The worst part about that is, though, like we were looking at sessions, we're like, can't go to that one. Can't go to that one. It's just, I guess, par for the course. It's a big industry. There's a lot to take care of.
There is a lot to take care of. It's an exciting industry. You got used car week happening out on the other coast. Looks
Jealous
like things
also.
are going really
Also
well.
jealous.
There. Yeah.
Steve Greenfield was here last night, but like he blew in like the wind. Blew in, hit a session. We took a picture, and he's like, my plane boards in 30 minutes.
Right.
But he didn't seem nervous
like
at
9
all.
different cities.
That's a pro when he's like, my flight board's in 30 minutes, but I'll be fine. And we're like 15 minutes from the airport. That's a man who knows how to move.
He knows how to
what's
TSA like a boss.
We're going to give you a summary today of the EV headlines as they're hitting. GM CEO Merritt Barra plans to tell investors today that their fledgling EV business will sell 1 million vehicles and be profitable by 2025, not 2030.
Wow, that's a new number. Haven't heard that.
It doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
Well, it's pretty impressive to have because these are new sectors of business that typically you would see like kind of a startup company with that type of scale looking at, a 5-7 year horizon on
new supply chain,
any level of profitability. So for them to say, hey, by 2025, that thing's going to be rocking and rolling enough to make that part of our business profitable is a pretty big, that's a pretty big statement.
Yeah. I mean, they do note that I don't know how they know this stuff. They're like going to announce this stuff, but we're reading about it. So they're kind of announcing it.
Right.
But they're going to announce, we're clairvoyant, that their margins on EVs will be lower than the margins on ICE vehicles, which is understandable, right? You just think of efficiency of scale. Morningstar Inc. analyst Dave Whiston said GM won't sell at the prices of Teslas, so maybe they won't match the profits, but they should be able to show good margins. If Tesla can do it, there's no reason GM, Ford, and others can't. They're behind on product lineup and manufacturing, right? Tesla has had this massive head start because they got into it early, but he's like, look, if Tesla can figure out how to build a car and sell it profitably, why can't the people who have been building cars and selling them profitably for a century figure it out?
Well, this is wild to me too, because every time you see a story about like whether Tesla can do it or not, it's always followed up with GM and Ford.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand why there's a relationship there. It's an altogether different business model. And I think that the challenge would be is how do we leapfrog Tesla and not just match them, right?
Because
how do we gain a
can't
greater
play their game?
Yeah.
Right.
It feels kind of like rope-a-dope, right? Like it feels like Tesla's like, here, come on back,
Oh, we're actually doing this.
Yeah.
You can't do it. We're doing that. Well,
Exactly.
speaking of, I'm not going to do a segue, but the next line, I was like, segue button's about to get hit. Vietnamese EV maker VinFast is saying they may be planning. Another may be planning. We know so much. We know so much about the
We're
future.
thinking about maybe doing something that
and
looks
we may
like
or may not have. VinFast may or may not have. No, they definitely did confidentially file an application for an IPO back in April. And they're saying they may have a U.S. IPO as early as January. So it's a Vietnamese automaker backed by Vietnam's wealthiest man. And they've been really coming to market quick with some nice looking product. I don't know what it feels like, but it looks really nice.
Right. And they're leveraging all of these tax incentives and the opportunity to start building in the U.S. You know, they've got the North Carolina factory. They're going to start production in 2024. So when you look at a company like that has a ton of backing, ton of money, the cars look good, they're going to be taking advantage of stuff. This is one of those new OEMs that I think is just one to look out for.
Well, it reminds me quite a bit of what Hyundai was able to accomplish. I mean, obviously they had a little rough start, right? Build a different reputation, but what they have done is come in at a discount level, offering a product that seems very premium when you look at Hyundais and Kias. And now the pricing is catching up.
Right.
But still, you get a lot for your money. Maybe VinFast will be another one of those. That factory, they got $1.2 billion in tax credits or credits. And they're in the middle of signing agreements to, raise $4 billion for its U.S. expansion. And they have 73,000 reservations.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
Yeah. You know,
imagine having 73,000 reservations for a vehicle, like what
of
that
anything.
used to be like.
Of 73,000 reservations for anything like that is not a widget, right? How do
Like
you
a $10 widget.
How do you get that across the line? It just kind of blows my mind that that's even something that we're talking about in our industry, that people have 100,000 reservations
Not
for
too bad.
Hummers, like
It's okay.
it's wild.
It's okay. It's okay. Last in EV news today. This one's a lot of fun. Amazon.
Speaking of widgets.
Okay, we'll do that. Where's my button? There you go.
Segway.
We got a new Roadcaster for the Road Kit. It's all messed up. Speaking of widgets, it's great. A segue in the middle of a segment. Amazon is taking heat for selling modification chips to electric bikes and scooters. and look, if I know one thing about humanity, it's going to be we're always going to try to figure out a way to make it go faster.
Yes, exactly. They're like, we're going to unlock these little things.
And so
Nobody
basically-
can hold me to 15 miles an hour.
A lot of these motors, excuse me, a lot of these motors have built-in regulators to just
Yep.
slow it down.
Yeah,
Right?
naturally.
Because 15 miles, if you're on a scooter, you're like, it feels pretty quick unless you're used to riding it for a while and you're like, I bet this got more in there.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely. Yeah. It has
Twice
more in
as
there.
much, apparently.
Absolutely. Because the way it gets up and goes, you're like, this thing can ride, right?
Right.
It kind of gets to that
You
15
feel it and
and
you
it's
feel
like,
pull back.
"Whoom,"
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, so this process known as chipping now can take an electric scooter or e-bike from 15 to 30 miles an hour. So I don't know if you know what 30 miles an hour feels like on a scooter with wheels that are like just 6 inches,
Yo, can you imagine?
but it's squirrely, dude.
that would have to be squirrely.
Yeah. And then
Have you been that fast on a scooter?
Yes.
Ooh, boy.
Yes. I mean, I know what 30 feels like on a motorcycle, not as fast because it's
Right.
a bigger thing.
Yeah, because it's a bigger thing. You're sitting, right? There's a little bit more like stability there, but
If you're pedaling pretty healthily on a bike, the point where you're like, I think I'm feeling a little jittery, you're
Right.
probably in that 20 to 30 mile an hour range.
oh yeah, I've been upwards of that on a
But
road
on a
bike.
bike,
Yeah,
when you're on a
You're
scooter,
sitting down,
man, and those
there's a-
wheels, just one little bump. So either way, police in Europe, because they're a lot more common in Europe, having a hard time keeping up, right? Which I hate laughing
They're
for,
like,
but it is funny.
missed it,
Right?
missed
There's
it.
no radar guns, but they're saying they don't have the level of training or like just even experience to know, like, is that
What
thing
that
doing
difference is.
23 or is it doing 15?
Yeah,
Right. And then you got to pull the person over,
what do you do?
tackle them. Like, I don't know, shoot like a little EMP.
I love it. You guys leave it to humans, right?
so-
That they're like, we're gonna unlock this thing right
It's
over here.
Funny, not funny. We're not really laughing at it, but we're totally laughing at it.
Yes, exactly. Well, speaking of noticing nuanced differences,
That's good.
Segway.
Good one. Good one.
if you thought first party data, cookies, and all that type of stuff was dicey when you're surfing
Like
a website,
creepy.
right?
Like
if you thought
creepy.
that
They're
was
tracking
creepy,
me.
now shopping in retail experiences and brick and mortar locations is starting to get that same way. There are some retailers that are testing out utilizing facial recognition down to like your lip movements on how you're interacting with shopping in a retail experience to look at things like how are we merchandising, where are we placing products, how is the store organized, where are people spending more time, how is their face interacting with products, and think about that from just from like a marketer's experience. I know my father-in-law, that he does a lot with like consumer packaged goods, and they're always trying to figure out like, do we take the end cap? Do we take the middle? Is this like a low on the shelf product or a high on the shelf
Yeah.
product? How is my product? Is it getting the looks from people? So being able to recognize like the eye movements, the smiles, the little triggers is an interesting proposition.
Well, I mean, historically speaking, the only thing you have to go off of is sales data,
Yes.
right? It's on the end cap. We sold X amount. Now it's like, well, does the person pick up the package, look at the front, and then look at the back and then put it down? Do they even flip the box or whatever the package? And so all these things, like when they do that, do their brows go down? It's a lot of data. It's a lot of AI. I mean, some of this technology actually, probably not facial recognition, but across automotive, we're starting to see people deploying AI to security cameras to be able to alert, hey, are there people in the area? Are there customers waiting in service?
Are they not moving around? That's
even,
already happening.
Even like, did somebody trip and fall?
Yep.
Right? Can we be alert that we need to like kind of like a loss prevention mentality?
Mm-hmm.
But this is like your face.
It's wild.
And it is kind of creepy. But to think that this technology isn't already being used.
Oh, it absolutely
right. Because we get like retail gets technology after like a decade after the government's had it.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't know. Is it creepy? Yes. Will people kind of like forget about it? Yes.
Yeah. What's going to happen is you're going to have, I mean, here's
natural
the
progression.
Slowing it down, that's going to be hard. There might be some legal stuff. You might, how they touch the data or things like that, but you're not going to stop it. But what I think we're going to see is similar to how you start to see better ad experiences and, this whole thing on like cross app tracking. You're just going to get a better shopping experience at some point. Is the potential there? So
it'd be fun to go in. I would go in once I know this is happening.
Right, and just mess with people. Just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
He looked angry when he picked that up.
He
looked angry to pick that up.
Angry, then buy it.
Right. I guess if we elicit the feeling of anger, they'll purchase it.
You're going to be that weird subset. So
speaking of subsets, I can't get the buttons right. Can't get the buttons right. This is an opposite segue. So the opposite thing of a subset is the entire group. And sometime today, Kyle, the world's population is going to reach 8 billion people.
Wow.
This is according to projections from United Nations. The 8 billionth person on the planet will be born on November 15th. I don't know how they track that. It'd be awesome if the 8th billionth person like gets some kind of like super award.
Some award.
We give them a bunch of money. It'll ruin their life forever, right? It'll make them a TikTok star. It'll be perfect.
I feel like we were just talking, and we didn't look at this, but I feel like we were just talking about 7 billion. Like I feel like that just like breezed past. And well, one of the reasons could be that in the article it was noted that the life expectancy of humanity is up in from like 9 years greater from 1990 to 2019. So life expectancy,
that's a massive jump.
72.8 years.
That's a massive jump, a whole decade in just 20 years.
It's unbelievable. Now it's dropped off in the last couple of years. We know what might attribute some to that, right? But that's still, I mean, it's still up almost 7 years from 1990 to now. So, healthcare is getting better. People are eating better, all of the type of things that are contributing to that longer life cycle. So now you've got, more people in the older ages. They're just not,
the cycle isn't repeating.
Right.
One thing to watch, however, is the fertility rate is at 2.3 births per woman. In the 1950s, it was 5.
Really?
So all of a sudden, like it's so like, we've been talking to our buddy Darren Doan, who is just saying, hey, we're running out of people. We're not, and it's even actually lower in wealthy countries, the birth rate.
Right.
So like globally speaking, it's down from 5 to 2.3, but in wealthy countries, it's like below 2, which means like, if you think about how many people it takes, each woman needs to have 2, right?
Golly.
2.1 actually is the sustainable rate. So 2.1 is a sustainable rate to maintain the population. So basically saying like, we have a lot more older folks, but there's this starting to be this crunch in the middle. Think Gen Z, right? There's not enough to replace what's going on, meaning, and then in wealthy countries, there's even less. So they're saying population growth in general, if you're looking at like just per country, in wealthy nations say the only way there's going to be population growth is immigration.
Wow. Which means things like retaining employees, taking care of people, even healthcare are going to be so important over these next 15 to 20 years.
Oh yeah.
To maintain the lifestyle that we currently have today.
So that means if you're between 20 and 40 years old, you're probably going to have some significant job security.
Right.
And you better start paying attention to company culture, building something that matters.
Yep.
Because
that people want to be a part of.
That's
because it's going to be the only way to retain and keep employees. Hey, we went from 8 billion people to retaining and keeping employees. Check it out. Let's go.
Well, speaking of things that matter, we hope you do things that matter today. We're about to lean back in with the Modern Retail Conference and talk to a whole bunch of other people who really, really care about retail automotive. We think you should too. We'll help you there.